Hello YouTube, this is the Aspie Hippie, aka Lennon Luna Jr., my real name. And I'm about to show you my favorite stuff, inspired by all the other Aspies that show their favorite things, like Tay talks with her Pokemon collection, and with Willow Marks and talk with her, stuff in her room that she loves to show. So I'm going to show my album collection. Here we go. All of these is old Beatles album in one stack. All of them are Beatles. Let's start with Abbey Road. Great production, a timeless classic. It's a great album to if you're a Beatles fan, and I love the medley from "You Never Give Me Your Money" all the way up to the end, and then all of a sudden a surprise song of Her Majesty. Recommend that, and this is truly the last Beatle album ever recorded, not the ever released, but ever recorded by all four of them: John, Paul, and George, and Ringo. This one, the White Album, is what, funny enough, caused Charles Manson to think that this talks about a race war, but it doesn't, because he was crazy. And the thing I like about it, it's their signal of the band going back to basics. Like after doing that, a lot of overdubs and production with Sgt. Pepper, Magical Mystery Tour, and of course, Revolver, with a lot of their songs overdubbed and with backwards guitar, and that's what I like, is when they go back to doing basic things, basic music. Great album. Check it out if you're a good Beatles fan. Let It Be, really the last album ever released, but not recorded. Even though I Me Mine is like the last album ever officially recorded by Beatles, but John wasn't in when they were recording. It was just George, Paul, and Ringo. But this is like the least they've done for the Beatles. But even though all of their albums are legendary and classics, but this is the one that shows the least effort when they made it. So, but it's still an awesome kick-ass album. Check it out if you need it. Rubber Soul, another great Beatles album. This is like the signal when they started, maturing their songwriting skills and their ability and their talent and their musical talents. And I love this album very much. And Rubber Soul, takes my breath away. Pretty awesome. And of course you got Revolver. This is when they started, it's basically volume 2 or whatever they were doing with Revolver and Rubber Soul, but basically this one it's like, the signal that they started transcending into psychedelic music, into Indian music, to, really weird, whimsical backgrounds and productions. I mean, Tomorrow Never Knows in here, in my mind, it's like the best psychedelic song of all time. And my all-time favorite album as a music expert, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. When I got this album, it was like the greatest day of my life, and I put this on my radio and I listened to it, and it was so weird, and it changed my life. It was so awesome, and this is a masterpiece of production, in my mind, greatest album of all time, not just by Beatles, but history music. I mean, they just literally were geniuses when writing this. I mean, Sgt. Pepper, it's like one of the first concept albums that inspired prog rockers to do what they do best, which is concept albums. But this one is not like they're trying to outdo each other. It's basically combining other genres into this album. Like, for example, Being Benefit from Mr. Kite, basically random circus music, but it's really tripping. Within You, Without You, with Indian music, even though their first signal of Indian music was in Rubber Soul with Norwegian Wood. Day in the Life, I have to agree, one of the best Beatles songs of all time. And this is my all-time favorite. And the Beatles with Past Masters, this is all singles released when they were not included in the albums. This is all their singles that were released that were not in the albums. I love Love Me Do. Basically their very first Beatles single. It became a hit in England, reaching number 19, I think, but it became number 1 in the States. Rain, of course, Day Tripper. Oof. A lot of singles, but they're timeless classics. And I'm going to move on to my other collection, which is all Hendrix. Of course, started with Are You Experienced? Great Hendrix album. It's basically the launch pad of Jimi Hendrix's legendary career. And in my mind, he's undisputedly and undoubtedly the greatest guitar player of all time. Because he was so original and so, he has so much virtuoso. And his talent is so way beyond what I ever heard. And could you imagine people at the time listening to these? Especially when he came out with his debut. Pretty radical, and the sounds he got out of his guitar is like, wow. And he's the reason why I play guitar. He's my main inspiration. One of my main inspirations. Jimi Hendrix. A guitar legend of its time. Even to this day, nobody still have mastered him. And of course, here comes Axis as Bold as Love, which is his second album, and this is completely different from the first album. The first album is basically hardcore music with overproduced backwards effects, but this one is basically when they try to put in a single format of each of these songs, which they average about 3 minutes and 10 seconds. Even though the longest was 6, if 6 was 9, which is 5 minutes and 32 seconds. But this one, I have to say, it's a pretty ballsy move to make an album like that. It's a classic. And of course, Electric Ladyland, my old-time. Actually, I don't have an old-time favorite Hendrix album. I actually love all of them because they're, I never get tired of Hendrix. He rules. The guitar virtuoso, they go. And this is the one with Voodoo Child, and this is basically a concept album. I'm not sure because I hear it, and it's basically a concept album, and I love it. And of course, his posthumous album after he died, First Rays of the New Rising Sun, and the songs are pretty, great, but it's like Jimi Hendrix's Let It Be. Like all of his albums are classics, but this is one that he shows his least of his talents. But still, the songs are great to listen to. Pick it up, pick these up if you get a chance if you're a true Hendrix fan. See? And of course, Bob Marley. This is the only Bob Marley album I ever had. And it's legend, it's his greatest hits collection, but his music is incredibly great. And all their songs are instant classics. And as a person in the autism rights movement, I have to say, Exodus is basically my favorite, one of my favorites, along with Get Up and Stand Up, Redemption Song, Could You Be Loved, and One Love. I love this, great. All these albums I have, I'll never throw away. Okay. Now it's done with the albums. I'm about to talk about my life. About almost a month ago, I left the hippie site hip forums because I had a fight with a couple of people because I thought they were against me. I thought the administrator was a mentalist, which she because I got kicked. But it was misunderstanding. But I thought she was really against me and she really hated me. But I don't want to mention the screen name or the name, but. And I found out the hard way that all of these people on that site weren't really backstabbing me, but they were with me all along. They loved me. And now I feel depressed that I left them since a month. I wish I could come back to them. But I'm afraid that they're going to, take me out, that they're still pissed and have a grudge on me. Even though hippies are not supposed to have grudges, but I'm not sure. I'm too unsure these days. But I wish I could talk to them again. They're so great. They're so great to to conversate, and really groovy and very lovable, very friendly. I have never met a bunch of friendly people in my life. Well, I went to the hippie concert. It was like that. Same thing with the hippie site, and I miss them so much. I wish I could come back to them. I hurt some people's feelings, and I had to say I'm sorry. I misunderstood them. But the good news is I've changed. I went through self-therapy, and I've been playing my guitar more, and I went to new limits of trying to get myself out of isolation because of I'm a pretty shy person. And that's basically it. And of course, as for guitar, I'm getting real better and better every day. I'm practicing every day now, which is pretty cool. In 3 days will be my birthday, September 16th. I'll be 23. Yeah! 23 years old, baby! Yeehaw! Uh, and I have time to show you my album collection that my security guard from high school gave to me as a going away present when I left high school to ECLC. Simon and Garfunkel. Every album I have from him, which includes the booklet, which talks about their music. I mean, look, Simon and Garfunkel, and the lyrics and the liner notes. Oof. And of course, I got every one of their albums. Western Morning, 3 a.m. wasn't really great, but it was a great start for Simon and Garfunkel. Even though it contains the original version of Sounds of Silence, which originally was acoustic, not electric, with added electric guitars. And of course, the Sounds of Silence album, which has a lot. It wasn't their best album, but it was better than their debut. Has classics like Sounds of Silence, I Am a Rock, and April Come She Will, and it's basically I love it. Of course, Rose Parsley, Sage, Rosemary and Thyme, one of the most underrated albums of all time. Not a lot of people remember it, but it has a lot of great classics, and the music is so diverse. Like Scarborough Fair is basically British folk. Patterns is like an African beat with folk and a little bit of gospel organ. I mean, I love it. Yeah, I love this album. In fact, it's pretty underrated. Like they're not remembered for this, but it's pretty awesome. Bookends, I love Bookends. And this is the song. This is considerably one of the first albums that they use a Moog synthesizer. You can clearly hear it on the first track, on the second track, which is "Save the Life of My Child." Is that? America, I love, and the whole album. It's basically a concept album, but I love it. I love Bookends, but it's actually my all-time favorite. It's tied as my all-time favorite Simon and Garfunkel album with another album, of course, the legendary Bridge Over Troubled Water. Basically their goodbye album, but the music is great. And there's one song that really is special to my heart and my family that they all love, which is El Condor Pasa, which is the passing condor, the passing Vulcan, the bird. And it has that folklore, his South American folklore background, and you can see that they're pretty diverse with this album, and they go from pop classic like Bridge Over Troubled Water, a little bit of rock and roll with Bye Bye Love, of a little bit of not samba, bossa nova with So Long Frank Lloyd Wright, and I love So Long Frank Lloyd Wright. It's awesome to listen to. And basically, this album was really diverse. Well, that's what I love about it. So that's all I can show you, and I hope you guys have enjoyed a good day. But here's a message for the people at the hippie site. I'm sorry, I apologize, but you guys, you really got me to push forward and to keep going with my guitar. And I hope I go back to songwriting, and I'm going to attend the Occupy Wall Street protest on September 17th. And of course, my birthday's 3 days away, which is September 16th. So I gotta go. Be sure to stay tuned for part 2 because this is just the half of the CDs I have. So, das Vidaya, my groovy dudes. Peace!